Hi there. Today we're using Stanley Kubrick's dystopian masterpiece, A Clockwork Orange, to understand one of the most foundational concepts within behavioral psychology, the modification of behavior through classical conditioning. In the film, the main character, Alex, a seriously sociopathic teenager with a high capacity for extreme violence, manipulation, and control, takes up an offer to be the test subject on the government's exploratory project to rehabilitate criminals within 2 weeks. As part of the therapy, Alex was strapped to a chair. His eyes are clamped open and injected with drugs. He is then forced to watch clips of sex and violence, some of which are accompanied by the music of his favorite composer, Beethoven. At the end of the therapy, the minister demonstrated Alex's rehabilitation to a gathering of officials. We see that Alex is unable to fight back against an actor who taunts and attacks him, and becomes ill upon seeing a topless woman, a stark contrast to his previous and past reaction. For the purpose of our discussion today, let's assume that Alex is indeed cured as claimed by the minister. Why and how is this possible? In the years 1891 to 1900, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov did a great deal of research on the physiology of digestion when he was at the Institute of Experimental Medicine. In his study of the reflex activity of the digestive gland, Pavlov paid special attention to the strange phenomena of psychic secretion, the activation of the digestive gland by the anticipation of food rather than the actual perception of the food. In one of Pavlov's most well-known studies, a dog learned to salivate upon hearing the bell but seeing no food. The experiment consisted of 3 phases. In phase 1, Pavlov presented the dog with the food, and as expected, the dog salivated. In phase 2, Pavlov ringed a metronome before he presented the food to the dog, and this pairing was repeated multiple times. At this stage of the experiment, the dog continued producing salivation towards the combination of the food and the metronome. And lastly, in phase 3, when only the metronome was present, the dog still salivated, despite seeing no food. This phenomenon was later named conditioned reflex, to be distinguished from the physiological reflexes that are spontaneously produced by our bodies. And the reason why this happens, Pavlov and his student found, is because conditioned reflex originate within the cerebral cortex. Any external agent could, by coinciding in time with the physiological reflex, become the conditioned signal for the formation of the conditioned response. Let's see how this is used in the film. Alex has a physiological response to the drug that's administered to him: nausea, discomfort, dizziness. And when this was repeatedly paired with clips showing sexual and violent behavior, likely a proxy for the actual behavior, Alex's body and brain begins to associate the feeling of nausea, discomfort, and dizziness to the actions shown in the clips. With repeated pairing, in this case the length of the therapy, 2 weeks, when presented with the conditioned stimuli alone, i.e. the taunts and the naked woman, Alex responds as if under the influence of the medicine. One particular example really brings this principle to light, which is Alex's aversive reaction to Beethoven's Ninth. Remember how in this therapy, some of the clips are accompanied by Beethoven's music. We later learned that upon hearing Beethoven's music, Alex also feels extremely sick, ultimately leading him to jump off the window from a 2nd floor. Just to reiterate, we're not commenting on whether or not this treatment actually worked. The This is just to help you better understand the principle of Pavlovian conditioning and to see how this is being portrayed in the literature. What, then, is happening in the brain? To understand this, we will introduce an important concept within neuroscience: long-term potentiation. Long-term potentiation is a process that happens in the brain, specifically at the synapses, which are the connecting gaps between neurons. It refers to the long-lasting increase in the strength of the synaptic connectivity due to repeated activation of a particular pathway. Imagine a neural network consisted of 3 interconnected neurons, A, B, and C. Initially, neuron A has a robust connection to neuron C, that the firing of A alone leads to a response in C. Meanwhile, the connection between neuron B and C is weak, and firing of B alone fails to initiate any response in C. Now, let's explore a scenario where A and B fire simultaneously. This synchronized activity creates a coordinated signal from A and B, leading to a response in C. As a consequence of this simultaneous firing, the connection between B and C begins to strengthen gradually. The next time neuron B fires in isolation, it has a higher likelihood of triggering a response in C. In essence, the concurrent activation of neuron A and B initiates a synaptic strengthening process where repeated enhances the connectivity between neurons. Over time, this heightened connectivity enables neuron B to trigger neuron C independently. In the context of Pavlovian conditioning, the foot and the metronome activates a particular neural pathway. With repeated pairing, the synapses along the pathway undergo long-term potentiation, increasing the connectivity between neurons involved. The strengthened synapses facilitate the transmission of signals related to the metronome, making it more likely to evoke salivation even in the absence of food. In the case of Alex, this enhanced connectivity represents the neural basis of the learned association between actions shown in the clip and his physiological response to the medicine that's administered to him. Thank you for watching today's video. Hope you have a great day.